Hey everyone, Dr. Chris here. As usual, thanks for joining me. Great to have you here. Today we're going to talk about fasting. Okay? So you probably heard about this. It's hip and trendy. It's out there. You can do internet searches and find millions of different ways to go about it. What I'm going to talk about is two of the most well-studied regimens for intermittent fasting. And also some of the health benefits. I mean, it's been purported to do all sorts of different stuff, make you live longer, decrease inflammation, improve cognition, so all sorts of this stuff. So we'll cover some of that today and maybe even get you started on it if you're up to it. All right. So first, what are the two most studied protocols? First one is called daily time-restricted feeding. Okay, same kind of idea as intermittent fasting. You fast for a prescribed period of time and then you eat over the remaining period of time. Okay, so the numbers that are most commonly cited are 16 hours to 18 hours of a fast. Okay. The shortest amount of time fasting that's been shown to have benefit is 12 hours. We'll get to why I think that's a little bit on the short side for most people to really see some benefits. Okay, so 16 to 18 hours without eating, that means you eat over the remaining 6 to 8 hours. Okay, let's just do 18 hours so I don't have to keep saying so many numbers here. So what that looks like, let's say you finish dinner at 8 p.m. Okay, preferably a little bit earlier, but let's say you finish at 8 p.m. Do your evening stuff, you go to bed, you sleep, you wake up the next morning, you don't eat until 2 p.m., okay? So between 2 and 8, you can eat. Of course, you want to eat healthy stuff. You don't have to worry about counting calories or any of that other stuff. And so that's a 6-hour feeding window. Your feeding window is restricted, so time-restricted feeding. And then from 8 p.m. until 2 p.m. the next day, you don't eat again, okay? Now what happens with this? Sure, overall, most people end up eating less calories, fewer calories over the time-restricted window than they would in a full day. But the other thing that happens, which I think is more important, is that this really changes how your body utilizes energy. Once you get to about 12 to 14 hours, you've depleted much or almost all of your glucose stores. So glucose, that's sugar, right? Carbohydrates turned into sugar. Your body stores that mostly in the liver and in muscles in something called glycogen. That's the storage form of glucose, of sugar. So your body eats through that stuff. Now you run off of ketones, right? You heard of a ketogenic diet. That's a different way to get into ketosis. But you start running off of ketones, and ketones come from breaking down fat. So you get to that 12 to 14 hours after you last ate, and you've run through your glycogen stores, your sugar stores, and now you're starting to run off of fat, okay? And there's a whole different pathway and hormonal cascade that happens when you start running off of fat and ketones. All right, the ketones themselves are signals, and they signal all sorts of different things, intracellular pathways, and that are associated with, like I said at the beginning, living longer, decreased inflammation, better cognition. Now, a lot of these studies that show this have been fairly short, a couple weeks or months. There have been a few that are a year or two. So it's promising stuff. And aside from, think about negatives of this, right? So if you do it, what are some negatives? A lot of people feel hungry the first couple times, more hungry, but actually the more frequently you do it, the longer you do it, the less hungry you get, typically 2 to 4 weeks. Okay. Now, if you're on certain medications, you got to check with your healthcare provider because some medications have to be taken with food. Sometimes your blood sugar can go too low on certain medications. So if you're on meds, run it by your healthcare provider. Okay. So that's the first regimen. That's called the daily time-restricted feeding. All right. The next regimen is called the 5-2 schedule. So the 5-2 schedule is you have fasting 2 days a week, and the other 5 days a week you eat unrestrictedly. Again, preferably healthy stuff, but again, you don't have to count calories or anything like that. So on the 2 days that you fast, you get at the most 700 calories. Some people, no calories the whole day, but somewhere 500 to 700 is what's been studied. And that, in effect, gets you to the same place as fasting for those 16 to 18 hours that I talked about in the first option. So when you eat 500 to 700 calories or less, that's enough that you plow through your glycogen sugar stores, and then you start running off of adipose tissue, fat cells, break down into ketones. Okay, so you get the same benefits. So what that might look like is, let's say you're busy with family and events on the weekend, so of course you're going to eat normally on those days. Monday you're busy at work, you don't mind skipping breakfast and not eating very much the rest of the day, and so you might have a small dinner, 500 calories, Monday night with your family. Tuesday eat normal, Wednesday eat normal, Thursday same kind of thing, small dinner, 500 calories at the most. And then the rest of the days you eat normal. So 2 days a week, 700 calories or less, preferably 500 or less. And the other days, eat healthy, but unrestrictedly. Okay, and you get the same effects, similar effects as the first example where you're doing something every day. Okay, so two kind of pretty different approaches to get the same effect and the same benefits. All right, so this is great stuff. People can start seeing results after a couple of weeks only. Okay, so very promising stuff. Remember, you plow through your glycogen sugar stores so you can finally get to your fat stores. And so one way it works is by burning fat that way, but then the breakdown product is called a ketone, and the ketones signal other pathways in your body intracellularly up in the brain for some positive benefits. So again, run this by your healthcare provider if you have questions. If you're otherwise a healthy person, try it, see what happens. All right, any questions, let me know. Else we'll talk to you next time. Dr. Chris.
Be sure to schedule your free 30-minute initial phone consultation by sending me an email or by visiting our website at refinedwellnessconsulting.com.